All right, welcome to our day of circles. We're going to start with our notes packet, so grab out your beige packet, and we're actually going to start on the back page. So I want you to flip to the back of the blank page, and what we're going to draw is just the most basic circle, which is called the unit circle, which means we have a center at 0, 0, and a radius of 1. So from the center, you go right 1, up 1, left 1, and down 1, and then you draw the best circle you can. Right? So the next thing we're going to do is draw in a radius. So we're going to draw something that goes out to here. And we should be familiar with Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to pick a random point x, y. So it should look like this. So if we have that point, this distance right here is x. This distance right here is 1. And we know that our whole radius on this entire circle is 1. So this is the radius of the circle. So it's 1. So to derive the equation of the circle, I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem. So remember, Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b are the sides of your triangle. So the first side of my triangle is x, so I'm going to have x squared. Second side of my triangle is y, so it's going to have y squared, equals my hypotenuse, which is 1 squared. So that's my equation. So now I want you to pause the video and see if you can solve this for y. All right, so obviously 1 squared is 1, so we're just going to ignore that. I'm going to subtract x squared from both sides. So I'm left with y squared equals 1 minus x squared. To get rid of the square, I'm going to square root. So I end up with y equals. Now remember, when I take the square root of an equation, I should get a positive and a negative. So I get the square root of 1 minus x squared. Now some of you are going to say, oh, but that's 1 minus x. You cannot take the square root of something that's grouped together by addition or subtraction. So you're going to leave it as the square root of 1 minus x squared. This is our new parent function. And the reason we have a positive and a negative is we have this top half. That's the positive portion, that green part. Now remember, a negative means outside, or means it reflects it over the x. So it's taking this green part and reflecting it downwards. So that's what gets me a whole circle. Because remember, a circle does not pass the vertical line test. So we need it written in two pieces because we have really two separate functions. We have a positive part and we have a negative part. All right, so go to your notes packet and find where you have the parent function of circles and write down this equation. Or you could write it like this: y equals positive square root of 1 minus x squared. That's the top half. And y equals negative square root of 1 minus x squared. That's the bottom half. All right, so when we go to graph it, you're just going to graph. You start at 0, 0. We have a radius of 1. That's the top half. And then the bottom half would look like this. So our parent function is really two separate functions. We have a full circle, but to get that first full circle, we need two semicircles. All right, so we're going to start by just shifting that side to side. All right, so we're going to start by looking at the circle, just translating left and right. And then when we get to this last one, that's when we're going to have to look at the stretching. So the first one, this 1 minus x squared, the x has nothing next to it. So that means it didn't go right or left at all. The 4 outside means it went down 4. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what's tricky about the circle is that's not really a point that you would graph. Notice that it's just the positive part. So I'm just going to have that upper half. I don't have the negative, the bottom half. So the radius is still 1. We don't have any stretches. So I'm going to go up or right, up, and to the left. And I really don't need that center point because it's not going to be graphed. But sometimes it's helpful to start with that and then erase it at the end. So that's the top portion of my circle. So I'm just trying to, oh man, just erased it. So that's the top portion of my circle. I don't have the bottom portion because notice I just have the positive square root. All right, then I go to the next one. And I notice that the x now has something next to it. Remember, inside parentheses, it's the opposite. So that really is going left 3. And the 1's making it go up 1. And notice there's still no number outside here, and there's still no number on the bottom. So I don't have any stretches. So I'm going to go left 3, up 1. That's really my center. I'm just going to make a little point. But remember, the radius is still 1. So I'm going to go right 1, up 1, and left 1. And that's the top half of my circle. Now, again, it's beneficial to draw the center in, but that's not really part of your function. So at the end, you're going to want to erase it. All right, and then we get to this last one. It's now starting to look like we have some stretching. Remember, the outside is a vertical stretch. The inside is a horizontal stretch. And it doesn't look like there's anything next to the X on the inside, so it doesn't go right or left. And there's also nothing outside, so it doesn't go up or down. So our center is still at 0, 0. To get to the next point, we would normally go up 3 and over 5, but that doesn't help me for a circle. Okay? What this outside number really tells me is it's my vertical radius. So that means I'm going to go up 3 instead of up 1 in the vertical direction. Normally it goes up 1 as my radius, and normally it goes right 1 and left 1 as my radius, okay? This inside number 5 is really the horizontal radius. Normally I go over 1, but instead I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm also going to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's my horizontal radius. I do not need to count down 3 because I only have the positive portion again. So I just have the upper half of my circle. So notice it's no longer a circle. It's more of an oval, which we also call an ellipse. So I just have the top portion of my ellipse. All right, so we're going to kind of put it all together on the next slide. This isn't in your notes. You might want to write it down somewhere where you can fit it in. But remember, if I have the positive, that's the top portion. That's the top part. If I have the negative, that's the bottom. The outside number we used to call a vertical stretch. Now we're just going to note that as our vertical radius. That's how many I go up from the center. Okay, this inside number is my horizontal radius. We used to call that a horizontal stretch, but now I'm just using that to tell how many I go over from the center. And this H is still telling me whether I go right or left, and the K outside is still telling me whether I go up or down. All right. Remember, it's still the opposite on the parentheses, so if it's left, it really was positive, and you go right, it really was negative on the inside. All right, so these are very similar to vertical and horizontal stretches, but now I'm looking at a radius. All right? Okay, we're going to try one more together, and then I'm going to do one more on your own, or two on your own, excuse me. So let's look at this one. This tells me, if you remember this guy, this tells me what our vertical radius is going to be. This tells me our horizontal radius. There's nothing that goes with the X, which means it does not move left or right. And this tells me it's going to go down 3. So we plot our center down 3. Remember, just plot it lightly. This is a positive, which means we're doing the upper half of our circle. Our vertical radius is 4, if you recall, so we're going to go up 4. And our horizontal radius is 2, so we're going to go right 2. Left 2, and connect our dots. Okay, remember you can erase the center after that. Notice here this looks a lot like the parabolas we've been doing recently. The difference being that circles have endpoints and parabolas do not. So remember that when you're looking at problems later on when they're all mixed together. So now I'm going to have you pause the video and try these last two on your own. Okay, so let's look at this one. We have a vertical radius of 2, a horizontal radius of 4. This tells us that we're going to go to the right 1, and right here tells us we're going to move our center up 4. Oops, there's the 4. So we're going to go right 1, up 4. Our vertical radius is 2. This is a positive square root function, so we're going to do the top half of our circle. Up 2, right 4, and left 4. And then our last one. Now we notice we do have a negative right here. You can think of that as being like a negative 1. So the negative tells us it's going to be the bottom half of our circle. This 1 is still our vertical radius. This 2 is our horizontal radius. There's nothing that goes with the X, which means we do not move right or left. And this 3 tells us we're going up 3. So let's put our center, go up 3, and put your center in. We're doing the bottom half of our circle, remember, because of this negative right here. Our vertical radius is 1, and our horizontal radius is 2. So we're going to go to the right 2 and to the left 2.
Remember, you do not need your center. You can erase that. Now, we have 4 problems that we're going to do together where we have the graph of the circle. We're going to write the equation. Remember our parent function. Okay, this is our parent function for a circle. With the plus or minus, remember, plus is the top half of the circle, minus is the bottom half of the circle. If we look back at this guy right here, this big guy, the only piece we have is that plus k, that we only moved our circle up. Remember, we started our center, okay? Nothing else has changed. We still have a radius, vertical and a horizontal radius of 1. Everything else is just shifted up 2. Our center is moved up 2. So this is a positive 1. It's the top half of our circle. We're going up 2. Okay. So let's do this one over here. Find the center of your circle. We still have a radius of 1, vertical and horizontal, and it is the top half of our circle. So we're going to the right 4, no up or down, and the radius is 1, so no vertical or horizontal radius change. It's the top half of our circle, so it's going to be positive square root of 1 minus, since we're going to the right 4, x minus 4 squared. Okay. And then this third one over here. Find your center. We've gone to the left 4, and up 3. Our radius is still vertical radius of 1 and a horizontal radius of 1. Okay. It is the top half of our circle, so it is a positive. You don't need to put the positive in there if you don't want to. Square root 1 minus, we move the left 4, so it's going to be x plus 4 squared. And on the outside, we moved up 3, so we have a plus 3. Okay, so let's look at number 4. Notice how we now have a vertical radius of 2 and a horizontal radius of 3. Our center is still at 0, 0, so nothing changes there. Recall our big equation over here. This is where our vertical radius goes. This is where our horizontal radius goes. So 2 in the front, this is our vertical radius. It is positive because it's the top half of the circle. And then it's the square root of 1 minus, remember the horizontal radius only goes under the x piece. It does not go under the 1. So square root of 1 minus x over 3, which is our horizontal radius, squared. No shifts left to right. This is what our function looks like. Now I'm going to have you do 5 and 6 on your own. Pause the video and take a minute to do those.
All right, so we're going to rock and roll through the next couple. So this should be the answer to this one, and I can quickly tell you why. Center, find it. It went up 2. It did not shift left or right, so that's what this plus 2 is. The vertical radius is 3. Horizontal is 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 is outside. 4 is under the x squared. It's positive because it's the upper half. All right, second one should be, let me just close that. Second one should be this. Always find your center. So it looks like it's gone right 3 and up 3 as well. So that's what this minus 3 on the inside is doing. That's right 3. And the up 3, that's always easy. Now notice it's always 1 minus. That's just the parent function. It looks a little funny at first. I notice my vertical radius is 2. My horizontal radius is 1. The 2 goes outside. Now if you really wanted to, you could put this over 1. We don't need that because 1 is just the standard parent function. So we're going to erase that. All right? So try the last 3 on your own. Notice we have some facing down, some facing up. Pause it. All right, so this should be the answer to the first one. Find your center. It's gone to the left 2, it's gone down 3. So that's the left 2 part, that's the down 3. Vertical radius is 3, horizontal radius is 2. 3 goes outside, 2 goes under the x squared. Next one, I have a negative out front automatically because it's the bottom half of my circle. What's nice about this one is the vertical radius is 1, the horizontal radius is 1, so I don't have any stretching, as we would say. This hasn't shifted at all to the right or left. It's just simply gone up. You have to find your center. It's common to want to count to that 2. It's common to want to count here, but that's not my center. My center is really there, so I've gone up 3. That's what the plus 3 is for. And the last one, it looks a little messy. Notice I have a negative because it's the bottom portion. I got to find my center, and it's gone right 3, down 3. So right 3 and down 3, that's what those are for. Vertical radius is 3. Horizontal radius is 2. There's a 3 outside, and it's negative again because it's the bottom half. 2 on the inside goes under everything. And notice it's still inside the parentheses, so it's always got to go with the x. So make sure you put the parentheses all the way around it and then square it. That's my horizontal radius. Okay. Now I know the parent function looks a little funny, but remember the standard parent function is just plus and minus square root of 1 minus x squared. That's why we have to put the x minus h part just with the squared. We don't put it next to the 1. All right, so your homework is going to be page 220, numbers 1 through 6. All right, and I'm going to have them on the board so you can just pause the video. So here's problem 1. Pause the video until everyone gets through that one. Here's number 2. Pause the video once everyone gets through that one. Here's number 3 and 4. Let me move this recorder so I can see number 4. Can pause the video until everyone gets to that. If you have your book, you should be using your book, but I'm just using this for the people that say, I don't have my book, I can't do the homework. You can. All right, here's number 5, and I don't believe I have number 6, so 5 will be where you stop if you do not have your book. Make sure you look at the parentheses. Remember on your quiz yesterday, it's the opposite for the y still. So some of you put it this would be going up 2 rather than down 2. So make sure you pay attention to that. All right, so you